from Milken Community School.
Good morning. The Moot Beit Din rules that Shayna is allowed to approve both options A and C. However, given the choice, option C is preferable. Option A entails open heart surgery, and option C means managing Leib's heart with medication. Shayna must preserve the length of Leib's life, even if that comes with a risk to him, and consider Leib's best interests, no matter the implications for her.
Options A and C will both allow Leib to live a longer life, while option B will lead to a shorter life in which Leib remains unconscious. According to Sanhedrin 73a and Tosafot Avodah Zarah 27b, one must choose an option that contains the possibility of life rather than one of certain death. Option B speeds up Leib's death by exposing him to potentially fatal risks. Even if Leib does not succumb to these fatal risks, the duration of his life would likely be greatly shortened, as the IABP is rarely used for even as long as a week. While option A, like option B, involves risk, option A is allowed according to Rabbi Brody, who says that the doctors are allowed to perform the surgery even if it is risky. However, since Leib is already in pain and may be in more pain after the surgery, we are not obligated to perform the surgery. Rabbi Jachter and Torah Redea 336 state that a risky medical procedure is permitted if there's a significant portion of a person's life that can be saved with the person's surgery. That can be saved with the surgery, as is the case with Leib. According to Avodah Zarah 27b, a person must accept medical help if it is certain that he would otherwise die. Leib will surely die soon if the IABP is left in, so option B is not allowed. Also, because the doctors cannot say with complete certainty that Leib will die because of his heart condition, nothing risky must be done to prolong his life, but surgery may be done. Option A offers the possibility of living the longest. However, C guarantees the most amount of life possible in Leib's situation.
Rabbi Reisner's tshuva states that we are supposed to maximize life and avoid pain. Since Leib is terminally ill, option C is ideal. Options A and C are acceptable, but B creates a situation with limited lifespan and indefinite sedation. Yoma 83a to 85a emphasizes chaysha, the idea that we should save a life no matter the amount of time the person has left or the state the person is in. Option B would likely allow Leib to live for only one more day. Even though option B still keeps with the principle of chaysha, it is the Beit Din's opinion that options A and C are overall better choices. Soda 46b describes citizens of a city who cannot die of natural causes, but choose to die when they're old and suffering. This implies that there is no need for Leib to choose death, because with option C, he would live out the remainder of his life in a lucid state, and with option A, a successful surgery will lead to recovery. Avodah Zarah 18a talks about how Rabbi Hanina ben Trajan chooses to die quickly to avoid pain. In this vein, option A means either instant death or a healthy life. Similarly, Yamshel Shlomo Bava Kama 859 explains that it is acceptable to die either by God's hand or to evade persecution, but neither of these reasons are relevant to Leib's situation.
Tor Yoreh Da'ah 336 and Rabbi Brody tell doctors to try everything in their power to save someone who is sick despite risk. Option A is clearly acceptable, while option B almost certainly ends Leib's life in a short period of time. Rabbi Jachter says one is allowed to risk chayei sha'ah only if the risk is 50% or less. Because Leib is a goses, Jachter permits option A because the risk factor is less than 50%. Though it seems like it would forbid option C, Rabbi Jachter clarifies that the 50% risk applies only when the risk is immediate death, and option C does not risk immediate death.
Rabbi Reisner's teshuva reveals that we must neither speed up nor prolong the dying of a terminally ill patient. In option C, the doctors will remove the IABP so as to avoid speeding up his death, and they will not give him medications to stop his heart from deteriorating so as to avoid prolonging his death. Sefer Hasidim 723.4 and the sources on the screen explain that one is required to remove an impediment to a goses's death as long as one does not cause the death to occur. Whether the IABP is taken out or not, Leib will not fully recover sans surgery. At this point then, all the IABP does is speed up Leib's death. If the doctors remove the IABP and give Leib medication to manage his heart disease, option C, Leib's life will come to an end by way of natural processes. There is indeed a chance that Leib might die before a month has passed, but this death would not be caused by the medication. Similarly, Rabbi Brody's responsa and the 5 sources on the screen all say that any action that removes an impediment to death, like removing Leib's IABP, is halachically permitted.
Pain should be avoided unless there is a significant chance of prolonging or improving life. Avodah Zarah 18a tells the story of Rabbi Hanina ben Tradion, who lets his executioner kill him quickly. According to Igrot Moshe, Choshen Mishpat 273, the acceptance of this incident is unrelated to the circumstances of Hanina's death. His death is justified only because of a situational extra-legal ruling. Igrot Moshe, Choshen Mishpat 274, explains that we are obligated to save any human being who has a chance of living consciously. The text permits A and C, while option B is unacceptable because Leib would be comatose. Rabbi Brody says that a patient can refuse treatment if he is in extreme pain. One might think that this forbids option A because the surgery could be painful. The excerpt describes a man who will have long-lasting pain both physically and emotionally. However, the pain from Leib's surgery would not last indefinitely, and Leib would be able to return to his pre-heart attack health and naturally live out the remainder of his life. This permits option A.
Halakha does not allow Shayna's interests to influence her decision. As responsa Minchat Shlomo 286 explains, Shayna must choose an option that would be preferable to her if she were in Leib's position. Relieving Leib's pain is more important than the personal repercussions upon Shayna. As a gosses, according to Tzitz Eliezer 1389, Leib can neither have his death sped up nor slowed down in the interest of the caregiver. Additionally, according to Igros Moshe, Choshen Mishpat 274, Leib's life should be extended only if his mental and physical state will be improved. Because of the progression of his Alzheimer's, Shayna and Leib's doctor must seriously consider if his mental faculties are decent enough to prolong his life. If so, surgery is a viable option. Therefore, to deteriorate. So it is best to treat him as a gosses by removing the IABP, an impediment to death, and giving him medicine to alleviate his suffering.
The Milken Beit Din has decided that Shayna may choose between options A and C, since both strive to save Leib's life while removing the impediment to death. The Beit Din recommends option C, which will provide Leib the greatest chance of living comfortably. Thank you.
Wow, my goodness. Guys, practicing is fantastic. One thing just for everybody, I think it's just, first of all, wonderful presentation. Thank you for your use of your sources. But just in general, for everyone listening, in the future, perhaps with the PowerPoints, not just giving the citation, but even the little bit of the quote that you're quoting. Just to remember that there are people who have different learning styles. So for me, it would have been really cool to see like, oh, that's exactly what you're talking about, just to rather than just the citation like a footnote. Just for that notion and idea. You mentioned something, the difference between recovery and being lucid in your decision, in sort of the understanding. And I'll personally say that I agree with your thought process and agree with your option C from my own personal experience. But the notion of making a full recovery versus lucidity is something that I was just a little bit challenged by. So can you maybe explain that a little bit? If that makes sense?
So we decided that removing the IABP is absolutely essential because right now the IABP is not doing anything to contribute to his improvement. And so because of this, it's prolonging his death, which is not allowed. So we need to remove the IABP so that his body is able to make a recovery and return back to its previous state of health, or of whatever state of health he was in with his Alzheimer's.
Great, perfect, thank you.
Can you just clarify exactly how the fact that that he has dementia, how does that play into your decision?
So, like Eliana was saying, we have to consider Chaye Sha'ah and like Avodah Zarah 27b says, and the Tosafot on it, we have to consider what's certain life and certain death. So his Alzheimer's adds a layer of complication to the surgery. So should the doctor perceive the surgery as higher risk than we believe, based on the information of the case, the Alzheimer's would have an impact. However, traditionally, halakha does not regard quality of life as a significant issue. So therefore, we decided to leave that to the doctor's opinion.
I'd also like to address this. I think the layer that the Alzheimer's adds to this case is it adds Shayna's quality of life into the situation. Because if Shayna hadn't been taking care of her father for all these years, then it wouldn't really be an issue. But what we need to remember is in response to Minchat Shlomo, it says that she has to put herself in his shoes and only consider what would be best for him, not herself. So that's why I think the Alzheimer's is relevant in this case.
Great. You didn't take into consideration, I'm just curious, why there was not an argument or a use of the goses concept in your sort of deliberation, where other people have mentioned it, and frequently that kind of comes up with a situation with dealing with with all of these various different complications and the notion that we're all going to die eventually, but then that idea of goses was not brought in. Is that conscious or what?
It was conscious, and I'd like to address that. We have we basically throughout our entire case we assume that he's a goses for two reasons. One, a goses is traditionally defined as someone who has 3 days to live or less. And with the IABP in, he has approximately 1 day to live because it can only last for a week and it's been 6 days. But beyond that, Rabbi Reisner said that any patient who is terminally ill should be treated as a goses. So for those two reasons, we considered him a goses the entire time.
Great.
Just going back to that, why is he considered terminally ill?
First of all, because of his heart condition, which even with surgery, he could only live for a few years. And second of all, he's in the late stages of Alzheimer's, which means that he's going to die within a few years.
Great. Well, we thank you for your participation and your cogent argument and everything. So great job. Thank you.